Hello, today I'm coming to you from Godmanchester in the English East Midlands, where the famous German radiochemist Otto Hahn was detained behind me at Farm Hall after the Second World War. At the time, Hahn was in his 60s and he had had a very successful career, almost entirely spent collaborating with Lise Meitner on the detection of radioactive isotopes of heavy elements, with one of the highlights of their careers being the discovery and naming of the element protactinium, which, like many other radioisotopes, was isolated from a uranium ore known as pitchblende. And 2 decades later, on the eve of World War II, along with assistant Fritz Strassmann, Hahn and Meitner would make another important discovery. Hahn and Strassmann carried out experiments where they fired neutrons at uranium samples. At first they thought that one of the products was a radioactive isotope of radium, but by a brilliant piece of deduction they realized it was actually the chemically very similar but much lighter element barium. Thus they had discovered the first example of nuclear fission, a process in which an incoming neutron can make a heavy atom split into 2 smaller atoms. By this time Meitner, being of Jewish origin, had moved from Germany to Sweden. Immediately on hearing the news, she wrote a manuscript, along with her nephew and fellow German émigré Otto Frisch, which described theoretically the process of nuclear fission. As the war progressed, Meitner stayed in Sweden, but Hahn and Strassmann stayed in Berlin until their institute was bombed, at which point they moved to Tailfingen in southwest Germany near the Black Forest, and not far from where Werner Heisenberg, the Nobel Prize winning physicist, had moved under similar circumstances. Otto Frisch, meanwhile, had joined the Manhattan Project, where he would play piano at the Los Alamos radio station, KRS. Thus, Hahn and Heisenberg were picked up in southwest Germany at the end of the war, and they were brought here to Farm Hall with 8 other German scientists. They were given considerable freedoms within the grounds, but there were hidden microphones contained within the rooms. This allowed the Allies to try and find out how much the Germans had progressed in their aims towards obtaining nuclear weapons. And in fact, the lack of progress that had been made became abundantly clear when the Germans reacted with shock on hearing of the atomic bomb explosion over Hiroshima. Hahn, in particular, was most relieved that the Germans hadn't been able to produce an atomic bomb. However, he also noted that Heisenberg's lack of progress didn't compare well, something to which Heisenberg agreed, while all the time being more concerned about Hahn, who clearly felt responsible for the appalling application of his discovery. On a happier note, Hahn also learned that he had won the Nobel Prize for Chemistry while he was detained here. Today it is widely thought unjust that he didn't share the prize with his longtime collaborator, Lise Meitner. However, at the time, his fellow detainees were more than happy to credit Hahn with the discovery of nuclear fission and all its consequences, including ultimately their incarceration here at Farm Hall. This was evidenced in the lyrics of a 14-verse song that was composed in celebration, and was part of an evening's entertainment, along with speeches and readings of fictitious newspaper articles which speculated on the missing Hahn's whereabouts. After repatriation to Germany, Hahn became president of the newly named Max Planck Society, and along with Heisenberg played a leading role in the restructuring of German scientific research. Meitner, Frisch and Strassmann continued with their successful careers, with element 109 being named after Meitner after her death. Thank you so much for listening to the very end, and I hope to see you again sometime soon.